At KSMO Radio, time for us to sit down with our friends from the Salem Memorial Hospital. Jason Edwards
That's
made
me.
his way in. That is you, by gosh.
Heavy on that friend. You said our friends with Salem Hospital. That's me.
Well, it is you. It is you.
You get closer to the mic. You're saying I got a low tone. You
No,
can't hear
you're just being.
me. I'm a mumbler.
You're better being a dribbler, I guess.
I guess. You never know what comes out of my mouth. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that's true. Well, first off, a couple things that you're here. Obviously, we have a golf tournament coming up Friday.
Big tournament. 8th annual Foundation Golf Tournament.
Yes, sir.
Big. And we love it.
And it's full.
It is full. It is full. We have a morning tee time, which is at 8 a.m., and that is full. We try not to fill that. You know, we put everybody one team at every hole, so that way for the afternoon tee time, it's not pushed back. 'Cause
Sure.
that can be really sketchy. So that's full, and our afternoon is doubled up on every hole, and it's good.
Well, that's great. It's fantastic. And of
Fantastic.
course, it takes a lot of people to make that possible. You got a lot of good sponsors that help make this possible. I'm going to give you an opportunity to list them if you want to.
I am going to name them all.
Okay.
All right, right off the top of my head, right?
Okay. And if you miss one, that's not going to be my problem.
You'll like the first one. The first one I'm going to put is always, because KSMO has been a great supporter of the foundation, and every year does that hole-in-one sponsorship. And again, this year, I thank you, Stan, for
You're welcome.
sponsoring that. We do have a number amount of sponsors, anywhere from Platinum, which is our high sponsor, the Esterly Snyder and Associates, Inman Insurance, Quality Machine and Fabrication, Ridge Runner Drilling and Pump Company, Rural Hospital Group, and the Bank of Salem. Great supporters of the foundation. We just thank you for everything you've done for the hospital. And going down to the gold sponsorship, Grellner Sales and Service donated the beverages for the hospital tournament. So we thank you, great supporters every year. And U.S. Foods as well. Every year donates the food for the tournament. We got some pretty good food out there.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah, and they
And
donate
that-
every year, and they're great supporters.
And that's a huge amount of expense when you start talking beverages
Absolutely.
and food. You know,
Oh,
so,
yeah, because it's going to be, 80-some degrees. It's going to be hot. People need to be hydrated.
You're talking 90.
Oh, wow. I'll be finding some shade.
Tee off in the morning, dude.
Oh, yeah. But it's a great time. And we also have some silver sponsors, County Fuels, Dent County Overhead Door Dirt Sheet, Miller Glass of Rolla VIP Properties, and Victor Heating and Cooling, also great supporters of the hospital every year. And some bronze sponsors, which is Cintas, Denton County Health Center, HST Family of Companies, Canuck Realty, NewMed, Taxmasters, Town and Country Supermarkets, I'll get that out eventually, and Wofford and Wofford Plumbing. Always good supporters for the hospital foundation. It's great for our community.
Fantastic for our community.
Absolutely.
That's good support, and it's a good day for a whole bunch of people to get out, enjoy a little bit, but it's all for a good cause.
Absolutely. With the foundation, it's all goes back to any kind of expenditures or capital expenditures or anything we can put back into the hospital to help the community. It's all for the community to be able to provide services for you.
Well, the foundation gave away 3 scholarships this past graduation.
Absolutely, the scholarships. I mean, an ambulance. Get an ambulance, wrapping an ambulance. I mean, so.
Do we have to get another ambulance? How many years we got to wait for this one?
I know, right?
Yeah.
But, just to be able to get those much needed things for the hospital, continue to provide services for the community, it's outstanding. And to have that support.
And to not have to actually have the hospital incur that overhead to where that would have to be passed on to every patient.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
People, I think, may forget about that, and that's one of the reasons why the foundation and the auxiliaries have been so needed by our hospital to help with those. They don't seem like much, room decorations or new
Right.
TVs in those
Floors.
rooms, but you got 18 rooms and new TVs. It's not going to be cheap.
No, not going to be cheap
And
at
then
all.
you got to install new, because as soon as you get a new TV, you're going to have it all new.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have a new wall mount. You're going to have new cables going into that, and
Just the foundation itself is just, and the auxiliary is just, they're a group that the hospital absolutely just admires to keep, because they help us to be able to provide for the community, and they're part of our team. And if most people know, Healthcare is not getting easier.
No.
So, and it's not getting cheaper, unfortunately.
No.
But we try to make it it's where everything for our community that we can have those services for everybody, and they don't have to go down the road. We want to provide that service for you so you don't have to. You don't have to travel these long distances and spend more money where we can take care of you here at home.
Right. Very good. So, again, we tip our cap to all the sponsors who made the Foundation's golf tournament possible to allow it to be held. For all those who have signed up, great. If you wanted to sign up, too late.
We may have a team or two that fall out. We hope not, but
Yeah.
if it happens, it doesn't hurt. You can still put in a registration, and we can put you on a list just in case, and it will be a last-minute thing. And we've got a good array of prizes that we give away.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Again, and then we've had some end of sponsors that will sponsor a prize or give away a prize. American Family Insurance, they're donating a basket. Centos donated a golf bag. So that's cool. They usually provide one of those every year, and they're great supporters of it. County Fuel's throwing a $50 gift card. Denton County Health Center is giving a heart health screens. So that's great support for us. And obviously the Grellner's throwing in the beverages. Ozark Outdoors Resort is throwing in a gift certificate. And the Salem Hospital, I mean, we put some money in that because that's kind of a separate entity. And we want to make sure to be supportive of our own foundation. And we've got a lot of prizes to go out. We also purchased a golf bag as a Callaway golf bag, and it's pretty nice. And
That's not going to be cheap.
no, not at all. It's a cart bag, and it's maroon. It's a beautiful bag. And also, when I throw Grellner out again, not only they provide beverages, but every year they provide a prize for us too. So never know what it's going to be. It just shows up the day of. So we're always on the edge of our seat to see what it was.
Golf cart,
Oh yeah, hey, I want to get in on that ticket.
There you go. But again, we want to thank all the sponsors that make it possible. Without the sponsors, you don't have a tournament.
Absolutely. And, we have some that just will throw in a donation. It may not be a prize. Some donations we got from Cuddy's Well Service throwing a donation. Karen Carmier, Fidelity Communications, Shelter Insurance, and our auxiliary provided like the towels for our little, they call it swag, little swag giveaway. And that goes in all the team players' bag, and it's good support. Love it.
It is. It really is. It's fantastic, and congratulations. And I know it's a lot of hard work. People think, oh, it's just a golf tournament. Just a golf tournament has a lot of working pieces to
wow.
it.
Yeah, there's so much
like
planning,
prizes,
months. Yeah.
timing, getting it all put together, making sure the carts are ready to go. There's a lot of background work that goes into it. If you're playing it, you show up, and you go have a good time. If you're working it, it's a long day.
It's a long day. I would say it's about a minimum of 6 months starting.
Oh, gosh,
It goes way back 6 months. Usually about 8 months is when we go back when we start the golf tournament, to getting letters out to all of our businesses. And that's not just Salem businesses. We go to our vendors that we use for the hospital because we want their support for our foundation, and they want to support our foundation.
Right.
But to get those letters out, to give people time to, decide are they going to be off for that day or can they just support and sponsor. But and then finding the prizes, making sure the course is ready.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of time. I'm going to thank Spring Creek Golf Course for letting us do that every year. And that's providing a service, too, to be able to have it and raise those funds.
Absolutely. And one of the things, Jason, when we talk about it, tournaments like this and raising the funds that go into the hospital foundation, is that there's teams that you have that are not just from Salem. You have
absolutely.
teams from around the area.
Absolutely.
Which makes it even more fun because then you see some people come in from out of town that may not even known we had a Spring Creek Golf Club.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got teams from Springfield. We'll have some from St. Louis, Licking. I mean, just surrounding. There's no telling where they're going to come from, especially when you start reaching out to your hospital vendors and they got a lot of corporate people they want to bring down and entertain and show their support for our foundation. They get to see our little community, and that's outstanding. We want to bring them in.
Yeah, and I'm sure they get a chance to see the hospital while they're here.
Absolutely. We'll give them a tour.
Yeah, absolutely you will. No doubt about that. Well, anyway, again, congratulations to the Hospital Foundation for putting on a great tournament. And when you mentioned start talking about getting ready as much as 8 months at a time, you're sending out thank you letters probably next week.
Yep. We want to make sure.
So it's not just it's starting 12 months.
Oh.
Right after this
absolutely.
one. First off, you guys review it, make sure anything we can do better, then the thank you notes go out. And then you really got to start preparing that far ahead of time. And you know as well as I do, they're going to return to Dancing with the Salem Stars in 2024.
Right. That's all going to be coming back.
So that's another fundraiser that's going to be coming up, and that one hasn't been around for a couple of years. So it's almost like starting from scratch again.
Right. So, and thank goodness we can get out of this COVID shell and be able to, and that's all the reason that we were, sitting back on that. It's hard to have an event to where we raise money whenever the CDC is recommending that we don't congregate.
Right.
So, as a hospital, yeah, we want to raise funds and build that foundation, but at what risk? We're not risking our community for it.
Right.
So,
and possibly you could have had it this past winter. The problem is the hospital is still being restructured.
Absolutely.
It just, that would not have been a good time for that
Absolutely.
to happen. So, so we're looking at having some fun with that again next year with the Salem Stars. So hopefully, if you get asked, you participate. It's
Right.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've done it myself. It was a good time.
I've got 2 left feet, so.
It doesn't matter. It's.
I tried to put on a right shoe, but it didn't work.
I think you did get a right shoe on. That one looks like it's the right
looks-
one.
It's right enough.
When it comes to dancing, though, your ballet slippers are 2 left feet, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Especially when I'm up in front of everybody.
I get it. No problem.
I'd much rather talk than dance.
Yeah, there you go. You do like to talk, and
Well,
there's
thank
nothing
you. I
wrong with
appreciate
that. Anyway, one of the neat things about our hospital is that they do a lot of community events, and that's one of the things. And we thank Jason for coming and talking about this. But also, we want to talk to Jason right now. This is the unofficial beginning of summer. Memorial Day always is.
Mm-hmm.
And you know as well as I do, out on that course, and we're talking temperatures in the 90s or near 90 with heat indexes in the 90s. Hydration this
Absolutely.
time of year is critical, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we are talking about Foundation of the Golf Tournament, but I wouldn't be a dietitian if I didn't talk a little bit about what I do, right?
Yeah, well, exactly.
So, and it's not, hydration is key because you won't believe how much you actually just, in walking, breathing, sweating, and it's what you're putting in your body that can also dehydrate you as
Oh,
well.
sure.
So it's very, very important. And dehydration will sneak up on you very, very quick. So it's very important to stay out. And we're going to have water that readily available, and we encourage you to drink plenty of water. And I always recommend it. The best way to think of it, this is my roundabout way of thinking. If you think of a 2-liter bottle of soda, a 2-liter, that's about what you need to consume in a day minimum.
But not soda.
Not soda.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of water. So think of that. If you're thinking of drinking a 2-liter bottle minimum of a day, that's pretty good.
Okay, so when you start talking minimum of a day, let's just say that you like to indulge a little bit with alcoholic beverages, even caffeine, with your coffee. That speeds up that process of
Absolutely.
dehydration, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a natural diuretic, so meaning you're going to go to the bathroom more, okay? So you need to consume more on top of that.
So that 2-liter became 4.
That absolutely. And 4 is not going to hurt you at all,
No.
Especially when you're taking that much salt, sweat, water out of your body, you got to replace it. And it's not like it's going to replace in one day. This is going to take a 2 to 3 day process, so you got to continually drink like that.
So, Jason, you should, if you're going to, preparing for the golf tournament Friday, you should start adding to your water
Today.
intake today.
Today, yep. Start increasing your water intake. If you know you're going to be outside, moving around, sweating, and you do not want to get to where your electrolytes are imbalanced and you get dehydrated, start today.
But also your food intake is important during the summer. A lot of us, we get going, we're doing so many things outside, we try to grab a bite here, grab a bite there. We probably don't have the healthiest diets in the summer because we don't concentrate on getting a full round meal.
Right.
But people they really need to do that correctly too, because your fruits and vegetables provide you with the sugars you need to keep going. You need carbohydrates in there because you're sweating, you're moving around, and you're burning a lot of, sooner or later, muscle.
Absolutely. It's because when you're out walking around and doing all that sweating, your body's metabolism is increased, just like a car. You're burning fuel. And whenever you're burning more, your body needs more. You only have so much to reserve to back up on. Now, with blood sugar, if you have issues with reactive hypoglycemia, diabetes, something like that, you're not discouraged from going out and doing stuff like the golf tournament. No, we encourage you to do that. It helps to burn off those blood sugars that you need to keep regulated. But you have a tendency to get a low blood sugar if you're not careful. That's why you need to put proper carbohydrates in your body. That you're talking about fruits, complex carbohydrates, adequate sources of protein. Don't need to overdo the protein, but adequate sources of protein throughout the day. And getting those necessary nutrients like sodium, potassium, that naturally come in foods, magnesium, that most people don't think about whenever, when you start cramping at night because you're dehydrated. So maybe deficient in nutrients that you don't necessarily get in your diet.
So let's talk a little bit about it. Now, we've been talking a lot about, obviously, being very active with the golf tournament, but people at home might be working in their rose garden or their vegetable garden. You're encountering exactly the same thing as if you were out there playing 9 holes of golf.
Absolutely. And you can consume those foods, the proper foods. When you think of complex carbohydrates, you're going to get those nutrients you need because sodium gets a bad rap sometimes. Yes, we're supposed to regulate how much sodium we get, but there's sodium naturally in foods. Our body has to have sodium to live. The key is we don't need 400, 500 milligrams, 4,000 to 500,000,
4,000 to 5,000?
Thank you. Milligrams a day.
Yeah.
All we really need is, anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 would be great, especially throughout the summer. If we're sweating a lot and pulling off that sodium, that's a pretty good number. And sometimes we may need a little bit more, but you'll work with your physician to see where, if you need to regulate that sodium content. But hydration is the key. Keeping that fully hydrated to make sure your blood is completely hydrated.
All right. So let's talk about those who get dehydrated and the damage that can do. You've got organs that rely on water, and if you don't have that water and you start to get dehydrated, you could actually suffer some major problems.
Yeah, your kidneys is gonna get a good punch, and that's what and if you already have a history of chronic kidney disease, depending on the stage 2, 3, 4. If you're getting up in the 3 and the 4, you really need to be conscious of it. I'm not saying 1s and 2, stage 2.
You don't ignore anything.
Don't ignore it. You need to stay hydrated. But as little of, drinking coffee will dehydrate you because of the natural diuretic of the caffeine you're getting. So it's being conscious of what you're putting in the body and focus on. If it takes, I know I need to hydrate and I need to drink water. And it's like, I just don't like the flavor of water. How can we put something in that to enhance you to drink it more? Or what's a good tool? I use like lemon or maybe even Crystal Light. I know it's something to flavor to make you drink more water. But eventually, once you get started on doing that or keeping like a bottle of water with you at all times, because you won't, if it gets habitual to where you're sipping, you would not realize how much actual water you're taking in. So little tools like that.
Well, and it comes as no surprise that when you eat a meal, you should complement that meal with, even if you're drinking something else, with a glass of water as well. You might have iced tea, sip the water as well. Yes, iced tea is a beverage, and yes, it has liquid, and yes, there's water in it, but you also need to chase it down with a little bit of water to also add to it. Tea is a bit of got the caffeine in there as well. Not as much as coffee, but there's still some caffeine in there. But you definitely want to make sure that and it will also help maybe even curb your appetite. In the summertime, you get out there, you cut the grass, you come inside, the last thing you want to do is eat.
Right.
You're so hot.
Yep.
But the thing is, what you probably need to do most is cool off and then eat.
Right. And make sure you're drinking the whole time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because when you're out there moving, sweating, and you're pulling nutrients out. You're burning them. You're utilizing them. You're taking your sodium, potassium, and you're moving that out of the body. So we got to replenish it. Now, is it necessarily a Gatorade or a Powerade? No. We can get those nutrients from the food we eat. And that's where I'd rather eat food than drink it. So I want to get my fluid from water so I can eat my food.
Well, the whole purpose, and I don't think many people who say, "Yeah, I need that Powerade or Gatorade," that was stuff for being as a holdover. If you're participating in sports, and usually, Jason, you've played advanced sports, you eat. If you got a game like at 7:00, you're eating at 2:30, 3:00. So you're not going to eat, and then here you are in the middle of that game, maybe 8:30, 9:00 at night. You haven't eaten for 5 hours, and you're out there perspiring and working hard. the fill-in to give you that energy that you should get from food, that's what Gatorade and Powerades were actually designed to do, to give you a replenishment, not to satisfy it, just a replenishment to keep you going.
Right, and that's at that point in time to take those beverages in. Now, it's not something to continue on and on and on. Now, there are times when we have, you might have issues with bowels, and, a physician may say, we need to get you on some sort of beverage like that to get the sodium potassium because you're deficient. But at those times, they're therapeutic.
Sure.
But during a sporting event, absolutely fine, along with water. But after, morely water.
Yeah. Get away from those other drinks. So they're not needed at that point. And unfortunately, they try and sell it as you need it all the time. But if you ever really watch the commercials, you're always seeing somebody working out. Virtually, either participating in some event, or you see them in a gym working out, sweating, and then they drink their Gatorade. But now they got this pre-workout Gatorade and post-workout Gatorade. You don't need all that.
Yeah. That's just something to market that they're trying to
sell.
It's
a marketing tool. So anyway, here's the thing. Make sure that you stay well hydrated during the summer. And it doesn't mean just for the golf tournament or if you're gardening. Look, if you're going to be out walking or having to cut the grass or whatever, and you're going to be going out there and having to do it the next day or 2 days down the road, hey, start adding to your water intake now. Because when you get out there, the last thing you want to be doing is getting about halfway through and realizing that, first off, you're wearing down because you're running out of water. Number two, you don't really want to stop because you want to get done. But you have to stop because you really need to drink some water.
Right.
And the third thing you don't want to do is get out there and suddenly start to suffer some cramps or other issues, which does happen. And then, if you have plenty of water in your system, it will help you to not get overheated as quickly. Heat exhaustion and heat stroke, we all know, they can be extremely detrimental to your health. I think, I've seen people with heat exhaustion. It's not pretty. I don't want to see anybody with a heat stroke. Don't even want to. But I know what heat exhaustion can be like, and when people, you're wiped out.
You are. And if you start feeling like, if you're just on normal work and you start feeling issues, not only sweating constantly, but if you start feeling some tachycardia, some rapid heart rate going on, you need to sit down.
Lightheadedness.
Yep. You need
Sometimes
to sit
you
down.
get a little bit nauseous,
Yeah.
Or sometimes you get some cramps. You'll feel spasms and cramps. It's a sign, guys. And your body sometimes tells you, hey, I need time out. We need a time out here.
Right. And a lot of people will say, I'm low on potassium, I just need to eat a banana. That's not necessarily the case. It could be anywhere from potassium, sodium, magnesium. Fluid is probably the biggest precursor of that. So, water. And again, just because you're going to drink a big gallon of water right then doesn't mean it's going to fix that issue right then.
Eating that banana right then is not going to solve the problem either. You need to do that 2 days ago.
Excellent. Yep, you got it.
And that's the thing about having a consistent diet in the summer. And let's really get into the nuts and bolts of what we're really trying to get to. Hydration is very important, but your diet is very important. You definitely want to make sure that you take the time, analyze what you're eating.
Absolutely.
If you have a great meal plan for the entire week, vegetables, fruits, proteins, get it all into your system. That way, you're not going to come to a time when you have to do maybe outdoor chores at maybe a time you don't want to out in a warm day. We'll get started early in the morning when it's not so hot. But it's still, you're working muscles that you may not be working all the time. And that's going to suck even more of those nutrients into your muscles. That's going to really put everything into them that they can to get you through that. And then afterwards, you wonder why you're sore.
Yeah.
You wonder why things hurt. It's because you don't have enough in your system.
Right.
And you're not replenishing enough. And you probably didn't start with enough to begin with.
Absolutely. And, and it's like you said, it was building that proper meal plan consistently. Am I saying you can't go out and do something out of the realm every once in a while? No. It's consistency. It's going to help you. It's building that meal plan with the proper carbohydrate. I know carbohydrate gets a bad rap, but that's our body's fuel source.
Sure.
We need that. And I know there's a lot of fad diets going out, like the ketogenic diet and the Atkins diet. I'm not saying those are instant gratification diets, what I call them. That's not something that's sustainable. Keeping your meal plan consistent with complex carbohydrates from good quality starches, whole grains, whole grain pastas, whole grain breads, starchy vegetables, potatoes, corn, beans, peas, sweet potatoes, those have good beneficial qualities that get a bad rap a lot of times. But it's eating a consistent amount for breakfast, as to lunch, as to dinner. The same serving sizes, keeping that balance. I encourage people to eat a serving of fruit at every meal. You would not believe the amount of vitamins and minerals. Yes, it's natural sugars in them and loaded with fiber, which is great for you. But the vitamins and minerals that will help to keep your metabolism boosted that you need. If you've got dairy drinkers out there, and if you don't necessarily drink dairy, but that's also good sources of calcium, and it has natural sugars in it.
Sure.
And protein. So if you don't drink milk, you can do other sources of calcium. If you did almond milk, soy milk, things like that. Balance that throughout your day. Don't sit there and just drink a gallon.
Right.
Spread that out between 3 meals.
Yeah, and as you're mentioning, you want to take those carbohydrates and spread them out evenly. You don't want to just say, I'm going to wait for dinner and then I'm going to have me a big heaping helping of those mashed potatoes. I just keep piling them on. And now I'm going to have my intake I need for the day. I think people misunderstand that, okay, so you're going to just overload your system with a whole bunch of carbohydrates from these mashed potatoes, and most of that's going to fly out of your system. And it's not going. You're not going to get the benefit out of it that you would a little bit at a time throughout the day.
Yeah, and I gave him this kind of, because I see that so many times, and I gave it a name. Maybe
is this the Jason name for
no,
this?
No, it is the Jason name. It's not a technical. This is not a medical term, but I call it the mountain effect when it comes to that meal plan. So, and so many people eat like this. I had a history. Not saying a history, but I ate like this once prior to me being a dietitian. But when you get up in the morning, I hear all the time, I don't want to eat breakfast. It makes me sad. I don't feel like eating. Well, your body's gotten used to not eating breakfast is what's going on. It's trying to, exactly what it is, break your fasting, okay? But what it's done, it's gotten used to not having that. So you're not hungry. So no nutrients, no fuel. So what's your body running off? Reserve, okay? You get to lunch. Your body's used to eating maybe lunch around that time. So it's secreting hormones to make you feel hungry,
Right.
which if you started eating breakfast, give it about 2 to 3 weeks, you'll start secreting that hormone again, and you'll start being hungry for breakfast. But, so do you see where I'm going, this mountain?
Oh, yeah.
So usually lunch is not huge because you're probably out working, doing stuff. You may eat a sandwich or, something quick, fast food. Most people grab a fast food sandwich or something. And then what is our main meal of the day? Dinner. And it's huge. Because we haven't ate much all day. It's time to sit down and relax. I'm going to fill up, get my belly full, and load up. So you've got this mountain from nothing to a little bit of lunch all the way to this huge dinner. So what does our body do? Usually about right after we eat dinner, we feel like just sitting in a chair.
We feel like a slug.
Exactly. Your body's shooting out a lot of insulin to get all that blood sugar regulated. You're digesting, so all that just slows. And the way I combat that, and I've seen a lot of weight gain on that type of meal plan. I've consulted a lot of people on weight gain based on that meal plan. All I do is what I just said before, balancing that meal plan. And people feel more energetic through the day. They don't feel engorged at night. They don't feel like they have more energy in the evening time to do more things and not sitting on the couch. It's just balancing and fueling your body appropriately.
There's also an education to the people out there, and to whoever might be listening in, when you do start planning your meals, and of course we all start to take vacations, and or family comes in, and then all of a sudden your daily plan that you have come to know and gotten used to, and your body really likes that, suddenly kind of gets scrapped for about a week. And Jason told me all about this years ago. Then you go out and maybe you have this big double cheeseburger meal, and or whatever it is, and just nothing but fat and just a bunch of bad stuff for your system. And boy, you feel it the next day. You have to understand you can do that occasionally, but when you go out there and you haven't done it in a while, limit what you're doing. Don't just go out there and say, oh, got a big treat. I'm going to go just gorge myself on this one meal, and then I'm going to eat again at 9 o'clock at night, or I'm going to eat again at 3 or 4 or 5 times that day instead of my normal 3 times that I've gotten my body used to. And all of a sudden your body's looking at you going, what are you doing?
Yeah. And then it gets used to it. And then your brain is telling your body, well, I guess I'm hungry. I might as
Well,
well
especially if you do it for a week.
eat. Absolutely. Week turns into two. Two turns into three.
That's hard to get back to that balance that you had, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's what is consistency in the meal plan is going to help. Going out one day and doing something, you'll tell a difference because it messes with your metabolism. But getting back on it the next day, it takes willpower. I know that's a bad word, but willpower helps everything.
Yeah.
You just got to stick to it, stick to your guns.
Well, that's some very good advice. Now remember, drink a lot of water. Summertime is virtually here.
Yep.
You know, and we're coming at you. Whether you're participating in the golf tournament or just out trimming your roses or cutting grass or digging ditches, don't forget the water. Take the time. Look, guys, I'm one that once I get started, don't even bother stopping me. I'm going to get it done no matter what. Well, you know, when I was 18, 20, 25, that wasn't a big deal. I'm telling you what, as you get a little bit older, realize, you know what, doesn't matter if I take a little break and have some water, sit down, cool off, let that body temperature come back down a little bit. Yeah, and all of a sudden you start to feel pretty comfortable again. You're like, I really don't want to go back and cut that grass again, or I really don't want to go do this again. If you have to put some water back into your system and you feel like, okay, I'm ready to go back out there, go do it. Get it done. But you don't have to push and push and push to where when you finally do get done, your mouth is super dry. You're really needing water badly.
Right.
Because the worst thing you can do is come in now all of a sudden you're super thirsty. You want to just gorge yourself with water.
Yep.
Or another beverage, and who knows what it might be. Some people, I think, super sweet, and they get done like that, and all of a sudden you're adding things you probably don't need to be adding to your system.
Right. Non-nutritive calories.
Yeah, so instead of doing those things and pushing yourself to the limit, especially if you don't do this all the time, you know, and the older you get, you probably aren't as active as you used to be when you were 18, 20, 25 years old. So think about your strategy about doing this. If it takes you an hour to cut the grass, make it an hour 15 minutes. Take that 15-minute break somewhere in the middle. Go cool down, get yourself some water. Sip that water. Don't just, what you want to probably do, just sip it. And the first few things of water I usually get is put in my mouth, and I wash out my mouth and spit it out because you've got all the pollens and everything else and you've been breathing in.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. I don't want to be drinking all that. I spit that out so I can enjoy my water.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but it does. It everybody does their own thing, and I get it. And I'm just not trying to make a suggestion to anybody, but start thinking about it because I know myself as somebody who's gotten a little bit older,
Just a hair.
a little bit,
Just a hair.
that pacing yourself a little bit better with some of these chores. You're not as just dead tired when you get done with them, and then you just sit there and, like you say, you're a slug because you're wore out.
Right.
You don't want to eat, and you need to eat. You don't want to eat, and you don't even really want to drink any water after a while because you drank that water when you came in. Now you feel like I drank enough water. You haven't even come close.
Right. And like you said, the older we get, as a younger, like an adolescent that is dealing with drinking water and they didn't drink enough and they may dry out a little bit more. They're young enough to come over that hurdle to go and sit and relax and rehydrate.
Sure.
The older we get, we may have issues or not strong enough, you know, or maybe our cardiac health is not good enough that we get down in dehydration, we're in trouble. So be sensible. Think ahead of the game if you're going to do that stuff and really be hydrated before you go out. Because once you go out and you start taking all the sweat and doing all that and working, you're going to have to replenish what you lost.
Yeah, you are. Hey, buddy, always a pleasure talking to you. It's summertime, you know, and if you need to get a diet plan put together, Jason is the guy to see. Talk to your doctor and say, look, can I talk to that dietitian I heard on the radio?
That
guy's
goofy
got
guy?
some. Yeah, the guy that just talks all the time.
that goofy dietitian.
With 2 left feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. He can come up with a real good plan for you, a real good strategy as to how you want to maybe approach the summer if you're taking vacations, maybe even a suggestion on what to eat on those vacations. And a lot of people kind of lose track.
Right.
You get in an airport and all of a sudden you're sitting there, you're waiting for this or waiting to do that. you know, what do? Your first thing you do is start snacking on stuff you probably shouldn't be snacking on. So,
Yeah. And those calories just add up, and you don't
well,
realize
you're
it.
not going anywhere. You're
Yep.
sitting in an airport and you're waiting 15 hours to take a plane, and sometimes you get delayed. So, first thing you do is you're bored. What's the first thing you grab is chips or something. The worst thing you can probably get, and you just sit there and you're doing nothing, and you're adding.
Habitual eating. It's a
It does.
it's a real thing.
It is a real thing. I think we've all done it
Oh,
at
absolutely.
one time or another. My friend, thank you for coming in and spending some
Always a
time with
pleasure.
us, and thanks for the great job on the golf tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys do a fantastic job with that, and I know you're a big part of that. So, again, thank you for your efforts there and helping
you.
our foundation out. And of course, if you need to get in touch with Jason, you can 729-6626. You got an extension?
2110.
2110. That makes it easy. But if you really want to get a good plan, talk to your doctor, let them check things out to make sure that they work hand in hand. Jason does with your doctor. He knows what you're doing. He's going to know what Jason's prescribing for you as far as a meal plan is concerned, and then work together there to improve your health. It's a good time to do it.
Absolutely. Be more than willing to help.
Thank you, my friend.
You bet.
Jason
Always a pleasure.
Edwards, dietitian, Salem Memorial Hospital. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Take care. We will come back with Civic Happenings next.